Welcome to the Scared But Not Damaged podcast, a podcast that supports, empowers, and inspires women that have experienced abuse or experiencing emotional trauma or pain. This podcast will challenge you to push against the tides and rewrite your story. On this show, I will be sharing some of the principles of Scared But Not Damaged, a life that has gone through adversity and abuse and has come out strong in spite of life's challenges. Despite the scars, your worth and your value remains intact and undamaged. Each week, we will discuss topics like what is abuse, what are the red flags that you are in an abusive relationship or marriage. I am your host, Naomi. Thank you.
Okay.
So, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Scared But Not Damaged podcast. Whoa, it's great to be recording episode number 9. Episode number 9. Whoa. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. And I have a special guest in the house today. But before I go there, I'd just like to say, how are you guys doing? And I hope you're doing great. And I hope the COVID situation is not getting worse where you are. You're washing your hands and wearing your mask because life is precious. So, yeah. So today we have a very interesting topic. And who better to talk about this topic than the special guest I have? She is a veteran in this topic, and she's somebody I know from past work life. She's a colleague, she's a sister, she's a Christian, she's a mother. Wow. I will just let her introduce herself at the right time. So today, the topic we're having today is happy marriage, happy home. So I know a lot of people would wonder, marriages are breaking up, divorces here and there, separation. And marriage is supposed to be a unit where God has created for people to come together and prosper, because the Bible said even that 2 is better than 1, that when one is cold, the other can keep the other warm. So the Bible knows, even in the book of Solomon, it knows the importance of marriage. And that's why God has ordained marriage to be an institution where people would multiply. It's a marriage that will meant to multiply and prosper. And like the Bible said, he that finds a good wife finds a good thing. If a man finds a good wife, every other thing would prosper. Likewise, a woman that finds a good man. And on Scared But Damaged podcast, it's a platform where we help people that have gone through trauma, and a lot of women have gone through domestic abuse and have been separated from their partners, and some of them have died. So it's a place where we're healing. But at the same time, most of these victims or survivors of domestic abuse see marriage as a bad thing. I inclusive. We see marriage as a bad thing because we had a bad experience, or it's something our parents went through and it was bad or something, So sometimes some people go to a home where there was divorce or they did not have a good marriage experience. And because of that, they believe, oh, marriage is a bad thing, or there's no good man or no good woman. Yes, if incidents do happen, there's sin in the world. So we're living in a fallen world. And so what do you expect? So yeah, I have this wonderful person I'm going to introduce today. Her name is Taiye Aluku. Taiye Aluku is a lawyer by career, by profession. She's a lawyer, she's a mother. She's an author of a book called Happy Home Builder. She's a speaker. She's a podcast host, a counselor, a coach, certified relationship counselor, marriage coach, NLP practitioner in training. She's the CEO of Rare Gems Counseling and Coaching, and she has several years in couples counseling. She helps in the magistrate court in Nigeria, Lagos precisely, where she helps people and teach them a right mindset and necessary tools for success. So if you do have problems in your marriage or you're seeing signs, you can always go to her for more. So, like I said, she started career as a as a lawyer. We were colleagues in the bank, so she's my banking colleague. I will work together in Lagos, and that's where I've known Taiye from. So she's such a wonderful person. So today, let's give it up for Taiye Aluku. So Taiye, you're very, very welcome to this platform. Yay! Taiye in the house.
Yay! Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Whoops, whoop, whoop. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. You know, when you were introducing, I was looking around and wondering, who is he talking about? Is it me? Thank you. First of all, let me start by saying that it's such an honor and a privilege to be on your podcast show. And I don't take it for granted at all, because for someone to invite you onto their platform, that means that there's something that they see. And so I say thank you. I honor you and I respect you for that. And I also want to, give you a big shout out. Aww. Because we talked about, what your podcast is seeking to achieve, dealing or reaching out to women who've been through any sort of trauma or abusive relationship. And really, it's a voice of hope that you are giving out to women who have gone through that journey, because what you're saying to them is that, hey, you're not alone. You don't have to die in silence. That this is me. I've been there. I'm walking through it, and that we can help ourselves.
Wow.
They say it takes a village, and it's not just in raising children. Even in recovering from, abuse of any kind, it also just takes a village. So, I really want to honor you for that, because that is really a commendable thing. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast show. I am delighted, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this conversation today.
All right. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for honoring this invitation. I know you're very, very busy. The last time I called you, you were abroad, you were away, and you were like, oh, okay. I reached out to you. You didn't even tell me you had things you're doing, but then you still put this podcast forward. And thank you so much, because you know how the marriage institution has been bleeding, and we need to save it so that people will have the right mindset. People will be equipped with the right tools and things that we're not able to cover today. People can reach out to you and make their marriages work, and they know how they are thinking. And marriage is not a bad place. It's a loving institution, so we're going to get started. Yeah, Taiye, I don't know if I missed out anything in the introduction. If you have anything to say, you can add that, and maybe we'll start from there.
You pretty much said it all, but I would just say that my book is called Together Forever.
Right.
Godly Principles for Building a Happy and Lasting Home.
Perfect.
And yes, relationship counseling is my passion. It's my passion. I'm passionate about it. And I believe that, with the right knowledge, with the right understanding, with the right skill set, people have a better chance of making a success of their relationships.
Wow.
I like it when you said that, marriage is a good thing. I always say that marriage is a good thing because it's a God thing. It's a God thing, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And so that there are challenges with marriage today doesn't make it any less a good thing.
Absolutely.
Your marriage can only be as good as the people in it.
Wow.
And I think that's why one of
the can you take that one again, please?
Your marriage can only be as good as the two people in it who make marriage.
That is a bomb.
Issues with the people, there will definitely be issues with the marriage.
Absolutely.
There'll be issues with the marriage.
Wow.
And so that's why I focus on, in relationship counseling, my focus is the people. My focus is the people. When you get to look at yourself and see yourself and realize the things that you need to deal with as a person, then you can go into that marriage as a better person.
Wow.
And a better you will make a better marriage. You can imagine two people who are better, then they are empowered, equipped, and enabled to build a better marriage.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm so passionate about, relationship counseling, premarital counseling, couple counseling.
Okay. Thank you so much. At the end, I'll be leaving your contact so that people, because we're going to equip people. Most of the people on my platform are broken women, people that have gone through sexual abuse from when they were small and they see marriage as not a good thing, maybe because their parents did not help them. So, so we're not just going into marriage as on hold. You're going as a complete person before you meet another complete person, and you guys will have a very profitable and rewarding marriage. So, Taiye, thank you so much for that. Can you give us a fun fact about you?
I thought, what is fun about me? Sometimes I'm like, I look at myself like, what is fun about me? But what I find quite interesting was the fact that I am a twin, and I am also a mother of twins.
Oh.
But I remember before, when I just got married, and my mom used to pray, hey, maybe I'm the one that will have twins. So I used to say, no way, God forbid, I don't want twins, because I know as a twin how much we stressed you.
Oh.
So I definitely do not want twins. But God has a sense of humor. My first pregnancy turned out to be twins.
Wow, God really does have a sense of humor.
He has a sense of humor.
He does. He does.
I didn't want it, but he gave me. Because that thing that you don't want, you actually have the capacity for it.
Wow.
So I have absolutely no regrets. It's been a beautiful journey with my twin.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. So I was just wondering, there's not such a thing as a perfect marriage, right? But can couples actually have a happy home? Can you give us your insight on that, please?
Interesting question. When you say there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, that is so absolutely true. There is no perfect marriage because there are no perfect human beings.
Absolutely.
And, honestly, perfection is overrated. Perfection is overrated. I hear people saying progress over perfection, because perfection can keep you stuck. You want to get it right, and so you are not moving. You are afraid that if you make this step and it's not perfect, then it's not good enough. So perfection is really overrated. And I don't think people should even be looking for perfect marriages. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage.
Wow.
But when we talk about happiness in marriage, that is achievable. That's my honest opinion. It's not unattainable. And in life, there are formulas at times. I don't want to use the word formula because it sounds so scientific. But the truth is, you don't have to have a perfect marriage to be happy in marriage. Because we're not perfect people. Only God is perfect. And even though we're not perfect as human beings, we can still enjoy our existence on earth. Wow. We don't have to wait until everything is in place before we can then begin to enjoy life, or we can then begin to live our best life. At the state at which we are at, we can make the most of what we have.
I think when people believe, when you're waiting to have perfection, it's like it's a mirage. You never get there. You never get to that point. There's no place for perfection. We're all work in progress. So, it's better we get equipped and start dealing with where we are so that we don't end up in the same situation we are growing,
Yeah. And the thing is that when you're waiting for some perfection, you keep yourself in a state of unhappiness.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting to achieve perfection before you can say you have arrived. Now you can imagine going into marriage with that mindset. You will consistently remain in that state of unhappiness. Now, how do you expect happiness when you yourself in a state of unhappiness? Because you are thinking that, until I get it right, or until this exists in my marriage, I can't be happy. Or until my husband does this, or is this, or until my wife is the excellent cook, then I cannot say that I have a happy marriage. Wow. So those things keep you locked. They keep us locked, looking for a perfection that doesn't exist anywhere.
So what you're trying to say to us is a mindset thing. And we need to shift that paradigm. We need to shift that mindset that we have to the right mindset. So we need to unlearn to relearn.
Yes, wow. It is a mindset thing. It is really, a lot of things, have to do with the thinking, the conditioning. because, you know, we've been programmed and conditioned a certain way. We've grown up with a certain set of beliefs, a certain set of thinking. We've seen things happen in our family of origin,
Yeah.
you know, in our homes where we grew up. And then sometimes you are even in a place where you feel, oh, this is not, for people who maybe grew up with mommy, daddy always being there and it was perfection, and they're seeing there's different. And they're finding that if I can't meet up to that ideal, then I'm falling short.
Wow.
But it's a mindset thing. And, you know, beginning to unlearn, as you said, sets you free. And the minute that you are set free, you can begin to go on your own journey, because I believe that, you know, as individuals, we have a unique journey. You can first of all begin to be authentic to yourself, and then you can begin to go on your own journey of understanding who you are and being true to yourself.
Wow.
You know, one of the great ways to find happiness in your life, first and foremost, before we even talk about marriage, is to understand who you are. Embrace yourself. Be authentic to yourself. Not be afraid to show up as your full self in any circle that you exist.
Wow.
Now, you can imagine a human being who has that full understanding. When you meet someone, you are showing them yourself. And it's either they accept you for you or they walk away. But you have been open to say, this is me, this is who I am.
Absolutely.
So that when people are learning to love you, they even know who they are learning to love. They know who they are learning to love.
Wow.
And so the happy home starts from you, the individual, carrying happiness on your inside.
That is a profound thing you said, because I don't know, it was 2 days ago, I was reading something and I just kept on looking at the platform. I was like, yes, these people are wounded. They are carrying trauma. Yes, they are dealing with trauma. They, you know, but I now realize, what do we do? And the Spirit of God was saying to me, these people need to start a journey. And before they start to journey and heal and be who for them to manifest their highest self, they need to first rediscover themselves. They have to go on an identity, self-awareness journey where they know who they are as an individual, where you know your weaknesses, your strength, and you work on your weaknesses, harness your strengths, you know, and that way you're going to work your work in progress, but you're working towards not perfection. Now you're working towards wholeness. You're working towards being a better version of yourself, so that when you come, like bringing this your marriage talk now, when you come in contact with another person that have worked on themselves as well, they've gone through the work in progress and they've worked on their identity, know who they are, because it's when you know who you are that you can manifest the best version of yourself. But if you don't know who you are, people will abuse a thing. They will abuse you because you don't even know your value. So thank you so much for diving on that issue, on that question. The next question I would like to ask is, I know you can say the rate of divorce today is on the rise. What can you really say? What's your take on that? Yes, on divorce is very high in recent times.
High divorce and separation.
Yeah.
It's alarmingly high. It's alarmingly high. And when I think about because you find out that not just the young, like I find a situation where couples who are 1 year, 2 year, 3 years in marriage are going their separate ways. But then also couples who are 15, 16, 17, even 20 years in marriage are also going their separate ways.
Wow.
So it's not a case of age or the length of marriage. And so, but when you look at the different types of couples, for instance, if you look at the length of the marriage, you find out that there are probably differing factors that are affecting. Now, for the younger ones, I find sometimes it's a case of expectations.
Wow.
Or not even understanding what they were getting into in the first place.
Absolutely.
Now, I'll give you a story that I like to tell.
Okay.
I got married. Way before I got married, my friend told me this story of her own friend who dated her boyfriend for 10 years. And after a 10-year courtship, they now got married. And she said to me that the marriage did not survive the first year.
No.
And I couldn't understand, as a single girl then, how can you go out with somebody for 10 years? You would assume that you know yourself.
You know the
now.
person well, yeah.
But you know what I began to realize as I started my own journey of marriage? That what they understood excellently well was how to be boyfriend and girlfriend. They were perfect at it. They knew it so well for 10 years. But when they became married, they didn't understand that it was a completely different relationship.
Wow.
And they were not equipped to deal as husband and wife. So
could you take that again? They were not like
they were not equipped to deal with each other as husband and wife.
Wow.
Because they felt that the rules that govern the boyfriend and girlfriend relationship would be the rules that govern the husband and wife, with nothing farther from the truth. And so I find that with the marriages that are, the young couples, there's this reality expectation that is, it's a case of your expectation is not even realistic. You feel that life will continue as it was when we were boyfriend and girlfriend. It's not going to be that way, because now there are responsibilities. And now you find out that, I say to people, marriage is about who will pay the house rent, who will put fuel in the car, who will cook food. So these are realistic, practical things. And a lot of times when you're in love, you are not in cognizance of those things. And so you haven't had those conversations, because everything you are doing is fueled by passion and love. And they say love is blind, but it shouldn't be, because this is the person you are going to spend the rest of your life with. You can't afford to be blind. You must be seen. Your thinking faculties must be, they must be fully on alert. Now, when you talk about couples who are like 15, 20 years in marriage going their separate ways, that's now a different dynamic.
Wow.
And what I'm seeing is that there's a growing apart that is taking place. And people, because we get married and we begin to go on a journey. We don't stay the same. Over time, people change, people evolve, people want to grow. Now, but in those instances, if your values are similar, as you grow through life, even though you might not always agree, but you will not really grow apart. Where the values are different, then you find people growing apart, because our values shape us. Our values condition the way we think, condition the things we want from life, condition our perspective. And so you find all of that happening, and then people don't even know what is happening to them, because they don't have the conversations that can give them that aha and open their eyes. And so people I like to say, people let marriage happen to them.
Wow.
They are not in control. They are not intentional, because they don't even realize that this is what is happening. And so you have a high divorce rate, because people are not taking control.
Wow.
I feel that there is nothing that cannot be corrected when you come to a place of awareness.
Wow.
When you come to a place of willingness to unlearn negative patterns. When you come to a place of willingness to change behavior. Because you will find that with marriage, behaviors are marrying themselves. So if you are with somebody with a bad behavior, who doesn't want to change behavior, it becomes very uncomfortable for you to day in, day out live with that person.
Absolutely.
Something will give eventually. Something. So there needs to be a lot of unlearning and willingness to make the change.
Wow.
But you see, the thing is that we can't change anybody. Not empowered to change anybody. So if your partner or your spouse doesn't get to that place where they are in themselves willing to make the change, you continue to exist in an uncomfortable situation. After a while, we're in a generation where we don't believe we should stay because of children. That's why the divorce rate is alarmingly high.
Wow.
Why should I stay? Because in some times, when you even stay because of the children are worse off. Because
true. They turn out very dysfunctional. Yeah, that's the truth. So that's what we'll see.
Leave to save your children than to stay to save them.
Thank you so much, Taiye. Thank you so much. The way you delved into this, whoa. It's I mean, what I can hear you say is marriage needs nurturing. Marriage needs you identifying who you are, the person you're going to be with, their behaviors before you decide to cleave together, like be together. You need to know, what can I live with this person? What values, what background, what cultures has this person come from? Can we infuse our cultures, our behaviors? Are we similar? In as much as we're different, can this person unlearn? Can this person accept me for who I am? I mean, if those things are not, I mean, you're better going your separate ways. And what better way to get these tools than to talk with a relationship expert that would help us, even when you're in a marriage and you're seeing things like this. Divorce is not the option for now, except you're being abused and your life is at risk. You can still go for counseling, where you kind of unlearn things habits that you've grown up with, and now relearn. Thank you so much, Taiye, because a lot of people don't know. We lack knowledge, and that's why we suffer. Some people should not even be divorced, but because they didn't understand little things. I heard a story of a lady where in a marriage, the husband you cannot use his toothpaste. Like he likes to press his toothpaste a certain way. And if the wife takes, they quarrel on those kind of basis. I mean, they're not together now, but they live together for 20 years. For 20 years, the man will cook his own food. Do you understand? He has his own fridge. I've never heard that in Nigeria. They're rich, but that was it. When I heard those, I say, at least for people like us, you see, it's something big that made us. Yeah, but these were tiny things, like, because maybe maybe the person was brought up with this, everything is my own, your thing is separate. So husband and wife, they don't eat together. He has his own fridge. You don't touch it. He puts his own food. I'm like, I've never heard so. So that's, people have reasons different, but because of the way they were trained and background, they didn't know to unlearn. So thank God for times like this. Now we have relationship experts, we have coaches like Taiye, and people can come to you and unlearn and save their marriage. Like I would say, marriage is a good thing, except you've been abused and that man is not changing and your life is at risk. Please separate. Otherwise we can work on our marriages and we can see divorce and separation rate reduce. Thank you so much for that.
This story you just told about the man and the fridge is really amazing. But it sounds funny, but it's so amazing, Naomi, because that man or whoever was responsible actually first of all needed to have gone on a journey before he even married anybody. Because how can you be in a marriage? Marriage is two people coming together and two shall become one. That's the whole concept of marriage. So that if your mindset is a mindset of I am not built for sharing,
then you don't marry.
No, because that institution is not even for you.
It's not for you. Don't even think about it. You should be single, and it's okay. It's okay to be single. It's not a bad thing.
It's okay. It's not by force to marry.
Because when they make these choices, Taiye, when they get married, that other partner that probably she's not perfect, but has the grounding for what a normal relationship should be like. As she comes into it and sees the other person like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? And that's where that bitterness starts brewing from. Bitterness, some people say because of children, but even the children are not getting the love because everything is how do husband and wife quarrel because of toothpaste? The way you're pressing is different from the way you're pressing, I like it pressing from the down. Why are you pressing it from the middle? It's strange, but people don't know
it's an issue.
So small things like that make people separate, but it's something, little things. So because those things, they're fundamental, those are things that should have been addressed before they came together as adults or before they got into the institution called marriage. Thank you so much. Like I say, you said a happy marriage can be, it's possible. So I'd like you to, how can one achieve a happy marriage or a happy home?
Okay. Well, I like to start by saying that there's never a one size fits all. Because as our faces are different, so our marriages will be different. So I always say that it will be different ways for different people. And I always say, do not try and fit your relationship into a certain box. Definitely not fitting it into society's expectations. Because at the end of the day, it is the man and the woman who have said I do that will live together. Absolutely. And so they must find what works for them. not what pleases their parents, and not what pleases society. But having said that, there are also fundamental principles. And if you work the principles will work for you. And I always like to go back to the starting point of when you point a finger, one finger is pointing right back at you. You that you want to marry, are you marriage material? What are you bringing to the table in terms of your mental state, your emotional state, your spiritual state, before we even go to finances?
Wow.
Because when you are not whole in yourself and you go into marriage as incomplete, people used to think that marriage will complete me or my partner will complete me. Nothing can be the truth.
That's a fallacy.
A fallacy. In fact, if care is not taken, marriage will take away from you. Please, it doesn't bring completion.
Go and ask people that are abused. They will tell you. It took not only it took their life away. Yes, people don't know the impact of being in a wrong marriage, and that's why we're bringing this on. Taiye, please tell us more, please.
Yeah. So so starting with yourself, and I want to be happy in my marriage. What measure of happiness do I carry on my inside that I am taking into my marriage? Because marriage is an empty box. There's no happiness in marriage. If you are thinking you are looking for happiness in marriage, it will deliver to you what you put inside it.
Wow.
And so the starting point is me working on myself and saying to myself, how can I be the best wife to this man? How can I be the best husband to this man, or the husband to this woman? So I start by working on myself, looking at my flaws and saying, okay, so I'm not so great in this. What can I do to be a better person in this area? I nag, I complain. I know that if I go into marriage with this mindset, I'm going to make a sham of it, or I'm going to make a shipwreck of it. So you start with yourself, working on yourself, your character, your behavior. And then when you've done that, it's important that you also understand the person that you are living with and learn to love them for who they are. Acceptance. But you find people looking outwards and saying, oh, look at what wife is doing in this person's house. Why can't you be like that? Wow. So wanting your spouse to be like the other person. But hey, you didn't marry the other person. So acceptance is so important. And I find that in a lot of marriages, people fail to accept themselves. We are bent on changing our partners to suit an image that we have in our mind of what a husband or a wife should be. Meanwhile, the human soul craves, just accept me and love me for who I am. Let's even start from that. So acceptance is so key, and is the greatest gift we can give to our spouses. For instance, Jesus Christ died for us. Yeah. He didn't say first change. He poured out his love for us in our filthy state. Now, I have to put a caveat. I'm talking about in normal relationships. I'm not talking about where there's abuse, because you cannot accept abuse.
No.
I'm not calling you to accept abuse. I'm not calling you to accept violence. But I'm talking about a normal husband and wife relationship. Learning to accept the person you've married. It frees them up to be themselves with you. Now, when there's acceptance, you are able to pour out your soul, your heart, your being to your partner. You are able to be vulnerable. It creates an atmosphere for vulnerability. It creates an atmosphere where communication thrives, because then you know that this person is not going to judge every word that comes out of my mouth. I can be silly. I can be my silly self, and this person will not love me less.
Wow.
So acceptance is very big. And then forgiveness. It's also important. Since there will be offense. Anybody who is married is ready for a journey of offenses. Because we are flawed human beings, so there will be offense. And so you can't say that you will marry and you will not forgive, or that you want to marry and you want to be keeping malice. Offenses will occur. So, what are the things for a happy marriage? These are just some of them. Respect is important. That I might not always understand you, but I give you your respect. And respect is a two-way street. So it's important that wives respect their husbands. Husbands must also respect the woman they have chosen to marry. You know, valuing each other's opinions. You know, when you speak, you don't ridicule what I'm saying, you don't dismiss it. We might not always agree, but my opinion is also important. And so there are many things to look at, you know, and you know, these are just a few that I can, you know, talk about off the top of my head. Fidelity is so important as well, because you know, where there's infidelity, then trust is broken. People tend to feel that it's not possible to be faithful. I totally disagree. Because the issue of fidelity is an issue of self-control.
Yeah.
It's an issue of self-control, and our self should never control us. And it all comes to a place of when you become self-aware and you are able to then self-regulate. And then if you are committed to your marriage, if you are committed to the vows you took, then fidelity should not be an issue. Okay. So those are just a few tips that I would give. You know, there's still a lot more that I share, but I mean, there's only so much we can talk about.
Okay, thank you so much, because I have like further down the question, I was going to ask you something about fidelity, but thank God you've mentioned, but I'm going to still dive into it. I thank you so much for the things you've just kind of said. You said marriage is an empty box. Is what you put in it is what you get. That means if you put nothing, you get nothing. You put love, you nurture love, you put acceptance, you get it back. And you also said something about start working on yourself. That means that journey of self-recovery, self-awareness is so key. Identifying who you are, it's so important in every area in life. So as a person, if you don't know who you are, the makeup you are, I mean, people would abuse you. So if you know your values, they know the values and who that person is. So I mean, when you see somebody coming into your space and it's not a right fit, you know you can go into that relationship. So it's first knowing you as a single person, knowing yourself, knowing your onions. I call this kind of moments, I call it the bagger moment. Like these are light bulb moments Taiye is giving us. Light bulb moments of like, some people don't even know these things in the marriage, and they're like, so my marriage is going north or it's going south, because just little things like this, there are fundamentals that we need to work on. You also said acceptance, because we're not perfect. We are flawed beings, accepting the man for his flaws, accepting the woman. But the good thing is we are work in progress. We're not just saying, I'm rude, let me continue to be rude. No, you learn how to speak nicely to the woman. The woman also will learn how to speak nicely. Like respect, they say, is reciprocal. So it's not an age thing. Even if I call you brother, but you cannot be rude to me. You know, I call you sir. You cannot be, you respect even a child. The way a manner and tone you speak to someone. Respect is so reciprocal. Then forgiveness. Because marriages, people they've done things. But because we're Christians, and because even people that are not Christians, morally, people ask you to forgive. Because when you don't forgive, it's like you're shooting yourself. It's like you're actually drinking poison for another person's mistake. So it's forgiveness. That's a place of pain, because a lot of marriages are going through pain now, but coming to the realization, these tools that Taiye is giving us today, the expert here is telling us we can get help. And I know with the podcast, we'll not be able to cover everything, but you can always reach out to her and go save your marriage. And also relationship, you can go there and also discover who you are, the right tools, whether you're dating and you're in a relationship and you need to know who you are, you need that journey. She could also help with that. And we said acceptance and forgiveness are critical tools in marriage. You said respect, fidelity is another thing, and we're going to touch on that. So thank you so much for breaking. There's so many nuggets I'm taking from here, because I just used to think marriage was a bad thing, maybe because I had a bad experience, and I'm like, oh God, I don't even know if I can. But I just realized I know it's a beautiful thing, and it's good to hear that we all have to put the work in. There's no perfect one, but sure, we can have a happy home.
So the next thing you just said, that we all have to put the work in.
Yes, absolutely. So it's not one person doing the work. It has to be two people.
Yes, it doesn't happen automatically. You have to put the work in. And it's not a physical work. It's all of these things. But even knowing that these things, that you create the marriage you want by being intentional. So it's knowing to do these things, because where there's no awareness, where there's no knowledge, how do you even start to put the work in? So you think that the work you are putting is the work that will save your marriage. Meanwhile, that's really not the work that is needed. You know, the work that is needed is you. So knowing the work that is needed that makes a marriage work.
Wow. So what I can hear you say, for every marriage, there's a bespoke. Every marriage is bespoke. Like you have to bespoke things, do things to tailor to meet your own needs, because every marriage is unique and different. You know. Absolutely. So thank you so much. I like you. How do we address conflicts in marriages? Because some people sweep things under the carpet. You know, when they just see it coming, you know, they believe once I put it under the carpet, I'm not seeing it, then it's not happening. So how do you, as an expert, tell us, or how do we resolve, what do we need to do to resolve conflict in marriages, please? Thank you.
Welcome. Well, conflict, let me first of all start by saying that conflict is inevitable. It must happen, Shani. There is no marriage that is without conflict. And where you find a marriage where there is no conflict, then either one person is pretending. And you can't pretend for your entire life. That's for sure. So when you now know that you are going into a relationship or an institution where conflict must arise, then it's important that you have a plan of dealing with the conflict. Because you already know that on this journey, you will encounter conflict. But you know, the thing is that, you know, when we marry, we are all loved up, lovey-dovey. So the thing is, how to resolve conflict is the last thing on our mind. And a lot of these things, it's not that I knew it from day one. I also learned through experience, and I learned, you know, as I journeyed. And that's why being willing to learn is so important. Because as you journey, you pick up things, you see patterns, and you learn. So, you know, when you look at resolving conflicts, it also goes back to understanding the person that you're with.
Wow.
And understanding yourself. Because you can't now say, this is how they resolve in these people's marriage. Let me carry it and come and plant it in my own marriage.
It's not going to work.
Your personalities are not the same. So it starts by understanding each other, and then being willing that, you know, when it comes to resolving conflicts, two things are vital. Don't play the blame game. There's a problem. The focus is, how do we solve? So be solution-minded and solution-focused.
Wow.
Don't focus on blaming. So let's say, for instance, somebody broke the TV. The thing is, now we are now going to say, how are we moving forward? Are we going to buy a new TV? Are we going to do without a TV for a while? But you find in instances where people fixate on that actual broken TV. Look at what you've done. You broke the TV. That's how you broke the Kinikon yesterday. That's how you did that. And so you now begin to blame. And so when it comes to conflict resolution, you must take blaming away, because it does nothing for resolving conflict. It does nothing for resolving conflict, but be solution focused. This is the issue at hand. How do we deal with it? When it comes to conflict resolution, it's also important to be specific. What are we resolving? Because if we're not specific and we don't identify, there are many things in the buckets, and we don't even know what the conflict is. We have not even been able to pinpoint the issue. And so you find people who are dealing with symptoms as opposed to dealing with the root cause. And the thing is that when you deal with symptom, you might get rid of the symptom, but the root cause is there.
Wow.
It will manifest in other symptoms as time goes on. And so being able to identify what exactly is the issue here. What is the issue? Separate the issue from the symptoms. It's so important. And then being even committed to the process of resolving, because sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, resolution is a process. Because resolution also involves change of behavior. If we say that we don't want it to occur again, that means the things that made it occur in the first place, we must be willing to confront them and deal with them.
Wow.
So being patient enough to let the process take place. And that happens when you are committed to a better relationship. I say always that when it comes to marriage, at every point in time, the focus should be your marriage winning. Because when your marriage wins, the two of you feed off your marriage.
Wow.
And so you both ultimately end up as winners. But if we go into conflict with the mindset of, I am wrong, you are right, and I want to prove to you that my own way is the better way, then you go in proving your own way is the better way. But guess what? The person who you have told their way is not good, for each time you say that, they become less invested.
Wow.
Because it's a case of, after all, my opinion doesn't matter. What am I even doing here? I don't even have a say. I don't even know anything because I'm always wrong. So one person is satisfied, but the other person is consistently dissatisfied. The ship is tilting. And then eventually the dissatisfaction of the dissatisfied partner will affect you, the satisfied person. So at every point in time, you want to be looking, what is the best interest of our marriage? And that requires you putting your own personal interest aside. Because when your marriage is better, you feed off the better of your marriage.
Absolutely.
You feed off your marriage. You can imagine if your marriage is doing well, automatically I'm part and parcel of that marriage. That means I'm doing well as well.
Definitely.
So for conflict resolution, it's also a process of learning, unlearning, relearning, but it's a process. People think that we talk about it today, then tomorrow the person did it again and they get angry. If I've been a particular way for 20-something, 30-something years, it's not your one conversation that will change me. You have to also be patient to see the process through and know that, these things take time. I can't marry you today or even 5 years down the line and become a completely different person.
Overnight. Yeah.
And I say to people that, when I got married and I began to, the things that I initially used to see in my husband that used to irritate and aggravate me, as we journeyed in marriage, I began to see that this man was changing. Not because I was nagging, but because, the man was of himself changing. And so if I had not been patient, if I was always nagging him, he would be frustrated. He would fight back.
Yes.
Likewise, if he's always nagging me, too, I will fight back. I will be resistant. So, we have to be patient with ourselves as well, but even to let the process follow its course. But that only can happen if you are committed to the whole concept of resolving. If you are solution focused and not blame focused.
Wow. Awesome. Taiye, thank you so much, because we're digging deep into those things that cause marriages to break. Because if people don't understand that, like everything we're saying still revolves, it points back to self-identity and taking ownership. What is, like I did an IG live for, what is your responsibility in this? Everyone has a part to play. So in life, growth is not just for marriage. Sometimes I have growth at work and all that. So it's personal development is an whole round, is a complete thing in all areas of your life. At work, you just don't go for developmental courses or training. That marriage also needs training, because that's your life. If you don't give life to the marriage, it would not breathe, it won't grow. So we'll see that we're two imperfect people, and focusing on blame is not a point where we should start from. Starting with a mind focus of positivity, saying, okay, we want a win, and a win-win situation is the best, because you have different ideas, and our ideas might not align all the time, and it's fine. But we can resolve things. If this person is not, he has some, I guess you have loads of examples because you've dealt with so many marriages, and but if somebody has some flaws that you're not comfortable with, like Taiye just said, patience, because you also have your own. Patience and being able to tolerate the other person can help resolve conflicts in marriages, and so many more. And other tools, if you want to learn, you know where to contact her. I'm going to leave her details. You know, we need to save homes because children are suffering. You know, because some people stag on. I talked to someone last year, and while talking, you know how you ask after somebody's husband and the person is just not, you know, people don't like to be tagged single parent, you know, but somebody that is single is a lot better. At least you know your identity. I'm alone with my kids and I'm haggling it out. But this one, she said, we just the manager. And you know, to me, in the past, I went deeper, but I didn't want to stress. But by the time we started talking, I didn't know when she started saying, I beg, we're just there because of children or me, meaning they live in the same house, but I don't even think they sleep together. But that is true. And the kids know. It doesn't matter how you put it, they know. Kids can sense anything, even from the age of 5. They know things, you know. So, but you're putting those kids into a lot of emotional trauma. When they now grow up, you don't have some kids come from very reasonable homes, but if you see their character, they become narcissists. Yeah, it's from things like that. It stems up from their upbringing. Because when you are in a place you're not happy, emotionally negatively charged, you go to work, stressed or what, by the time you come back, you're meant to meet your loving husband, loving wife is the one that is giving you negative vibes all the time, and the marriage is not all right, and you're not fixing it. And because it's good to know marriage can be fixed. They are specialists, not just your pastor in church. Pastors are not trained to fix marriages. In the past, as Christians, we just believe every little thing. My pastor, but I've just realized pastor is there for spiritual journey. Marriages, pastor cannot, except they are equipped. So we need counselors, we need the right people, we need coaches, you know, so seek help.
Seek help. That thing that you've just said now is so massive, you know, and it's not, no disrespect to any pastor, but pastors are not trained. They are not trained. And there's a training, a professional training that is required, you know, because you can't just say the Bible said, you know, we know what the Bible said. But people are dealing with real life issues. Some can be threatening to mental health. Yeah, seeking help in the appropriate quarters is very key.
Very key. Very key. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for breaking it down and making it know that you make it seem so easy. Like a lot of people, like it's a light bulb moment for a lot of people, and it's like eye opener. And people can say, whoa, so I can work on my marriage. I don't need to divorce. You know, because divorce is not the solution. It also brings other problems. You now see separate single parents, and the kids feel vulnerable because when they see couples where daddy and mom is present, you understand? I'm not saying, except like I say, it's an abusive place. Please, me, I'll be the one to advise you leave. You know, but if it's a normal human being, and because we're not complete, you know, and you're going to work on yourself, we're filled with flaws. And like Taiye said, a marriage you can resolve situation with counseling, good if you get help from qualified people, you know, you can help sustain your marriage. So yeah, we're getting almost to the sorry,
something you said, you know, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yes.
And you know, in this my work, I find that, you know, people know what to do sometimes, but they are reluctant to actually take the step because it will take from you. You know, so but we like to stay stuck in old patterns because comfort zone. Change is not always comfortable.
No,
the process of going from a caterpillar to a butterfly is not a comfortable process. But you know, so the process of refining gold is not a comfortable process
at all.
So even though sometimes you find people who know what to do. For instance, I've had people come to me. They want counseling. They know they need it, but to actually take that step, and they can see that, you know, this and these are issues that we are not able to resolve on our own. To actually take that step, they'd rather be stuck in old patterns.
Wow.
So while there are simple solutions, it's not easy. It's not easy.
So I think like they say, change itself is a constant thing. That means constantly we're meant to continue changing in life for us to progress, to make a headway, to have an impact. So even in marriage, I mean, we need relearning. We need to shift our mindset. We need to shift this paradigm. I'm stuck here. This is what I know how to do. But if it's not working, then change it. Try something else. Go to an expert to help you, and save your marriage, because the marriage is a beautiful thing. So the next thing I'm going to ask is, how do you address issues of infidelity in marriage?
Infidelity is a big one.
The big one. Mm-hmm.
The big one. And honestly, my view is, it can't be addressed. It cannot be addressed if the couple do not want to address it, or if the unfaithful partner does not want to address it. So they say you can take a horse to the water, you can't force him to drink. So is there a willingness for the unfaithful partner to address? Because the only way to address infidelity is for you to know that I am not going to do it again. And to commit to not doing it again. Otherwise, how else do you want to? So for me, but you have instances where women have chosen to, you find some women who say, well, all men cheat. Let me just say, you can't really find a man that doesn't cheat. That's the mindset that some people operate with, that is working for them. I do not condemn them. If it works for them, fine for them. But there are also instances where maybe it was a one-off. And I feel that you can recover a marriage when it's a one-off. And so I don't subscribe to, somebody slipped once, crucify him, kill him, bury him or her, and then that's it. A marriage can be recovered if it's one-off. You want to find out get to the root cause. Because it could have been a cry that manifested in that behavior. But where it is persistent and reoccurring, then that is a deeper problem. Then if it's persistent, reoccurring with one particular person or with a series of persons, then it's a deeper issue. Honestly, and you need to seek professional help with, and there are infidelity recovery counselors who are trained for that in particular.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oh my God.
You have to now seek help and then decide what you want to do. And then sometimes when it comes to infidelity, the person who was cheated, how do they say it now? The person not the person who was unfaithful, the spouse who you cheated, who you were unfaithful to. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
He or she now needs to decide, this is a recurring pattern in my home. Can I live with it and still be happy?
Wow.
You have to ask yourself those questions, because at the end of the day, the choices that you make are the choices that you have to learn to live with.
Wow. For me, like there was a documentary I was watching, and this counselor or therapist was a coach, was therapy coach, and a professional supposed to help this international football player. So he's a superstar, and he's married to his secondary school sweetheart. But the one thing that the wife cannot discuss, which is like elephant in the house, is infidelity. Is out of this world. And so the woman was trying to point out that this flaws has been there even at the foundation of your relation from secondary school, but it's something you did not deal with. Maybe because she was coming from a broken home, she felt, it's okay, all men cheat. But it started eating into her deep in her marriage. They have a son. And because of that, she moved to another room. And even the small son, the son that was less than 5, told the grandma, Daddy and Mommy don't sleep together. But you'll be thinking we're hiding it though. Nobody knows. But when the woman, when she drilled down, because there was something you said, that there might be a greater issue why people do certain things. And psychologists will say, when something manifests, it's not that thing that is the issue. There's something deeper under the surface, like an iceberg. So the bigger thing is at the bottom. You're just seeing that tip showing. They call it iceberg. But if you check, when you submerge and check underneath, it's something bigger. So that guy, when they drilled into his past, His father left his mom. I think maybe it was a young child, maybe never saw his dad or something like that. So that pain. And because now he's not a superstar, he goes. So to him to feed that pain, he treats women having fleets of affairs. So whenever he's down, he needs to just get out of pain or going through something, maybe in his marriage or something, any form of pain, he goes to different women. So he can't stop. So the woman, that affected her emotionally. She now got to a stage where she became numb. It's something she doesn't address. So she's like, okay, because of course he's so rich, he won't want to leave him, but it's like, okay, I'll stick with this, but I'm going to show you Pepe. So she's showing me Pepe all the time, but she's even killing herself emotionally, and the guy can't seem to stop. So they were now trying to fix this guy. I'm just giving this example now to see reality of people. So it's his pain from his childhood. To him is, how do I numb this pain? Let me enjoy. I have a pretty woman, but it's not enough. Let me go with different women. That was his own way of dealing with his childhood pain. I'm just giving that. I'm not saying but he was not willing and ready to fix it because he felt he now knows the pain is causing to his wife. So he's in therapy for that.
So you see how deep that issue is.
Very deep.
Now, if they of their own, they can never arrive at that.
Never.
And they'll be dealing with a symptom. But the thing is, living with that symptom is also very difficult for the woman. The man doesn't even know it's a symptom.
Yeah. This man had to cry. He's now 35, but it's something he's been doing during secondary school, cheating on her. This woman just doesn't know. She's like, oh, is this what men now? She's also from a broken home. So she's always carried that mindset that all men cheat. It's okay. But it's not getting to her, emotionally affecting her. So that's why they now came to seek for help for their marriage. And when this woman drilled down, because coaches are, like you said, they are trained. And I didn't know they have specialist coach for infidelity. So to me, it's like, whoa, I didn't know that. So it's good to know, because some people have those issues. Some people do, and they need help. So thank you so much for opening our eyes to these things. So I would say again, can trust be regained? A husband and a wife, maybe one person has done something, because it's not just infidelity. Some people do certain things in marriages, and it's like, I'm not coming, this person will not come back from this. You're like, you're going to hold a dagger, you want to pay them back. So how can it be regained? It's good to we want to see if there's hope out there for people to say, oh, this man hurts me, or this woman hurts me, can I trust her again? So what's your insight on that, please?
I would say yes. I would say, to answer that question, I would say trust can be regained, but it also depends. So it depends on the willingness. It depends on the changes that they're willing to make, because you're telling me to trust you. And I want to trust you. But if the things that made me distrust you are still there, then it becomes very difficult for me to trust you.
Wow.
So it also depends on, the willingness of the parties and the sacrifices they're willing to make, and knowing that it will not happen overnight. It will not happen overnight. It's a journey. Because what got us to the place of broken trust in the first place? Now, repairing that thing will take time. A lot of people live in marriages where they don't trust each other. So, and maybe it works for them. So maybe we don't even need 100% trust. But if we're not talking about rebuilding trust, it's also a journey and a process.
Wow.
It can be regained. I strongly believe that it can be regained, but a lot will depend on are the parties willing to do what it takes to rebuild trust. And one thing is, if somebody has broken trust and is now, remorseful, not just in words, but in behavior that is now manifested consistently over time, it's important for you, whose trust was broken, to also be accepting of the changes that they are making. Because sometimes we say, no, I cannot let my guard down. I cannot let them betray me again, even though he has changed or she has changed. I don't know, maybe tomorrow now they'll wake up and do it again. So you have not left room for, leaving the past behind and trying to move on into the new.
Wow.
So it's a two-way thing. And as with life, as with everything, it always will depend on, are you willing to go on a journey? Because some of these journeys are, when it comes to marriage, marriage is people. So some of these journeys they might be painful. So are you willing to go through the process? But the thing is, at the end of the day, if you will be married for 50, 60, 70 years, assuming you will live on earth till 90, if Jesus tarries, and you married at age 30, that means you'll be married for 50 years. So if you now take that holistic look, then you will not take decisions based on temporal, based on situational things in terms of this is where I am at now. You will be holistic in your decision making.
That's what in management they call the helicopter view, looking from the top. Yes.
So for instance, we're in year 10 where this has happened. Am I going to, because of what has happened in year 10, destroy it all? Or think that we still have 40 more years into this journey and think of what can be if we make the sacrifice to repair what we can still have. Because a lot of people take decisions based on a situation at the moment and then later regret that had I known then what I now know, maybe I would have made an effort to make it work. Because we could have survived it. We could have moved past it. And we'll even be there as, people that God will now use to say, oh, our marriage went through this storm. We survived it. This is how we dealt with it, and helping other people get through it as well. Other couples get through it as well. Wow. So yes, trust can be rebuilt if there's a willingness, commitment on the place of the parties.
Thank you so much. It's good to know at least there's light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how bad that marriage has been, it can be fixed. No matter how, trust has been lost, we can be regained as long as the party is willing to do the work, and willing to turn a new leaf. Thank you so much. Wow, this whole podcast has just been interesting. Every moment has been like, whoa. There's been so many light bulb moments. And we're actually coming to the end of this podcast. I'd like you to, what last words do you leave with our listeners? What do you want to say to them regarding marriage?
So to the singles, I would say that, a happy home starts with you. It always starts with you taking responsibility. I like it when you said take responsibility. You have to take responsibility for the life you desire. And it starts with the choices you make. Because at the end of the day, nobody forces you to marry. You made the choice. I mean, gone are the days where they did arranged marriage. Maybe they're still doing. You can also choose not to be, in an arranged marriage. That's with you. So take responsibility for building yourself up, knowing yourself, valuing yourself, so that you don't settle for less. So that when you've placed value on yourself, you can recognize when people devalue you. Then you know that that's not the right choice of who you should marry. And then for the dating, I would say, or the engaged, take responsibility. Prepare yourself for marriage. People prepare for the wedding day. The wedding day is maybe 7 hours. Prepare yourself for the actual marriage by going for premarital counseling classes. There's so much that takes place in those classes that opens your eyes to how to do it better. And for the married, I would say marriage is a journey of never-ending learning. Flexibility is so important. Don't be rigid in holding on to your positions. Be flexible. Learn to accept, learn to love the person you have married. They say don't marry the person you love the person you marry. So you have chosen to marry this person, love them. Love them. And then also if you're married and you need help, there's nothing shameful in seeking help. Because your marriage can work. Marriage is a beautiful thing because it's a God thing.
Wow. Thank you. as you've been talking, everything just sinks in like that, like a dagger. Poof, poof, poof. I mean, you're just pushing those things, and it's been registered. It's like it's shaping my brain to say, wow, marriage is sweet. So people can actually resolve a bad marriage and turn it, but it's a journey. And marriage is something that is intentional. Whoa, you have to do the work. It's an empty box, like you said. That's one blew my mind. What you put in it is what you get. So if you put nothing, you get nothing. Whoa. I was like, what? Like buying a gift box. If you don't put the present in, nothing gets in. You're going to deliver an empty box. So, Taiye, I just want to say thank you so much. I believe the listeners would have learned so much, but I know you have so much arsenals in your coaching and tools in your box. So I would employ you guys, contact her and book sessions, and let's have a happy home. Because if you have a happy home, we have a happy society, then we have a happy world. Taiye, thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you as a guest on this show. And like I said, Taiye and I worked in the same bank. She's been a colleague. My first banking experience, Taiye and I worked in the same bank for years. So that's where I knew Taiye from. But it's nice that our paths are crossing again, and it's a honor. Thank you so much for honoring my invite. And I told you, in the shortest possible time, you're such a busy person, but you gave me, just a couple of days. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it this time around when I'm back at home. And in a space of 1 week, really, I just want to thank you for being someone that, you for the respect and your responsibility and your response time, your turnaround time was so fast. Thank you so much for honoring me. I really do appreciate. I'll tell the guests, let's give it up for Taiye. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you, Naomi. I totally enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for having me. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep shining. Keep being awesome. Thank you.
One more thing before you go. Yes, I know you wrote a book on marriage. Can you tell our listeners where they can find that book? Because we need our marriages to revive, and we need to restore marriages, So please tell us where we can get that book from.
Thank you. Yes, I wrote a book called Together Forever, Godly Principles for Building a Happy and Lasting Marriage. Mm-hmm. And I called it Together Forever because every couple that walks down the aisle is thinking they will be together forever.
Absolutely.
Sadly, it's not happening for every couple. So nobody goes down the aisle thinking, this is husband number 1. 5 years, I'll marry husband number 2. They are thinking together forever. It's the intention of every couple. So it's just answering to the intention that the couple had when they walked down the aisle and showing them how they can be together forever. So you can find the book on my website, taiyealuko.coach. Mm-hmm. You can also find the book on Amazon. The Kindle version is available, and the hard copy is also available on Amazon. Wow. And soon you will find it on Okada Books as well.
Okay.
And so those are the places where you can get the book.
Okay, thank you very much. There you have it, guys. So you can always go to those places, and let's revive our marriages, our homes, and start living a fulfilled life. Thank you so much, Taiye. Thank you, and God bless. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Scared But Not Damaged podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Scared But Not Damaged, so you don't miss a show. Kindly subscribe to the show so you know when new episodes are released, and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you amazing episodes. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.